Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book number 194, which is Charles Mingus' great tune, Jelly Roll. And this whole series of jazz piano lessons is designed to get us looking at jazz standards in a way of understanding where they come from and looking at different approaches on how to play them. It's both past and present and bringing us into the future. So Jelly Roll, Charles Mingus. First of all, they have the copyright dates at the bottom, but it doesn't always reflect when the tune was composed, because this says 1975, and the tune first came on a record in 1959. So maybe it was renewed in 1975. So just a word to the wise, you can't just look at the bottom and say, oh, this tune's from 1975, So who was Charles Mingus? First of all, if you don't know Charles Mingus is playing yet, you're in for a real treat. Spend a few months listening to Mingus. Great bass player, great composer, great band leader, great musician all over. A very, very fine pianist as well. He recorded an album on piano. So Charles Mingus is one of those musicians who spans everything. If musicians are food, he is the whole buffet. He's a little of this, a little of that. Actually, he's a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of this, everything. Charles Mingus formed his mature composing and playing style before the bebop era, just before the bebop, in pretty much what my piano teacher Billy Taylor used to refer to as Prebop, sort of 1938-ish to 44, 45, where a lot of the musicians, Duke Ellington, Coleman Hawkins, Charles Mingus, had put together a style of music that had all the harmonic complexities of bebop. But it didn't have the rhythmic bum, 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 bum of bebop. It didn't have that crackling, kinetic kind of bebop energy, slightly unpredictable and a little askew. It was more like Art Tatum. So he might play, these very complex chord voicings, but it's going to be more of like a swing kind of thing. It wasn't bum, 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 but it was leading towards there, especially in someone like Coleman Hawkins or Art Tatum playing. But Charles Mingus formed his style during that time, and he would have been very happy with that. He went on record, he wrote about that. He said he would have been very happy with that style he had developed. And he also was very versed in classical music, so it wasn't just purely from the jazz point of view. He wanted to be a classical composer, actually, and for societal reasons, that wasn't going to happen for him, so he went into jazz. He was playing cello early on, too, not bass. So he was disappointed when bebop appeared, because he said his stuff was outdated all of a sudden, right when he was a young man, trying to make a mark for himself as a musician. So he changed his style, and he became a dyed-in-the-wool bebopper. And he's on that famous recording, the concert of Jazz at Massey Hall from the early 50s with Max Roach, Bud Powell, Dizzy Gillespie, and Charlie Parker. Charles Mingus is the bass player on that. He's right there in the heart of the bebop scene. However, he's more known for what he did after bebop in the late 50s and the 60s, which this is what this comes from, where he embraced the whole buffet of jazz, from the early days of Jelly Roll Morton and New Orleans, what they used to call Dixieland music, all the way to the avant-garde, and you hear it all pretty much at the same time in a lot of his tunes. This is from an album called Mingus Ah Um. Mingus, then A-H, and then U-H-M, I think, or U-M. Forget how that is spelled, but I think it's just U-M, but Mingus Ah Um, 1959. Every single track on the album is a classic, from Boogie Stop Shuffle to Better Get It in Your Soul, Self-Portrait in Three Colors, one of the most beautiful ballads ever written, and Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll is a tribute to the New Orleans musician Jelly Roll Morton. Mingus was a big fan of, I don't know if fan's the right way, I guess fan, yeah, of Duke Ellington. He recorded Money Jungle with Duke Ellington, another must-hear album. And Jelly Roll was a tribute to this kind of early jazz style, and Jelly Roll Morton, I guess, as a musician himself. Jelly Roll Morton, the first great jazz composer, wonderful pianist. If you haven't heard his Library of Congress recordings, the interviews he did with Alan Lomax at the Library of Congress in 1935, 36, somewhere in there, check them out. They're invaluable and they're fun to listen to. So Jelly Roll, we can go in any direction with a tune like this because Mingus went in all these different directions. We can play it kind of just straight ahead. See? Sort of straight, right in the middle of mainstream. We can go old ragtimey, stride, put in those trombone lines like Jelly Roll Morton had. It's no accident that Charles Mingus often had a trombone player in his own group because he was into this early jazz where the trombone was playing these sort of march-like bass lines with syncopation. Or we can go bebop with it. Or more avant-garde, whatever that means. A lot of times Mingus would, Scott LaFaro from Bill Evans' group is given a lot of credit, deservedly, for loosening up the straight walking bass lines in quarter notes and playing things that had more syncopation against the underlying beat in a group. But Mingus was doing that earlier. Scott LaFaro must have been checking out Mingus too. So basically, we could do that. We could pretend we're Charles Mingus on the left hand and a saxophone player in the right. See? Get some sixth going. Like in the early days of jazz, that New Orleans harmony between the clarinet and the trumpet. The sky's the limit on a tune like this. So I think I'm going to start kind of in a little more subdued way, maybe with that sort of Mingus-like bass line down here, and then see where it develops with all of the above in there somewhere. that a lot of fun, right? And that's really the word, Mingus, fun. You know, he had a lot of angst. He had a lot of energy that had to be channeled somewhere. He knew that, and it wasn't always channeled in his personal life in the right way. He knew that. He wrote a book called Beneath the Underdog, biography. He talks about stuff like that. But in his music, he did bring a lot of rollicking, fun spirit to it. And that's not something that we always think of in jazz anymore. It's, you know, serious, got to learn my 2/5s and play the correct way and everything. And man, Mingus his playing and his groups were anything but, quote, correct in that sort of dry sense. It's correct because it's absolutely right, but man, it's freewheeling, rollicking, the whole, like I said before, the whole buffet, the whole range of jazz all thrown together in this big pot of soup, you know, and then stirring it up or, you know, whatever. One thing that, as I was playing, it occurred to me, I've never thought about this before. There's kind of, sometimes I talk about these two streams of jazz piano. You have the mainstream, like, you know, bebop, right? So from Bud Powell to Red Garland to Wynton Kelly to Herbie Hancock, and, you know, post-bop, but through the bebop line. And then you have this other sort of parallel stream with the stride pianists and then Thelonious Monk, or rather Duke Ellington, then Thelonious Monk, and then people like Randy Weston and Elmo Hope, people who weren't really as interested in purely melodic saxophone type lines in the right hand, but were doing more angular phrases and just a little more connected with maybe the riff tradition rather than bebop lines. And also going sort of avant-garde. It's like the old and the new, but not so much bebop, even though, yes, Monk was one of the creators of bebop, but he changed his style. So you have these two streams. Mingus is one of the preeminent musicians that unites them both. Totally in the Jelly Roll Morton, Duke Ellington, Monk kind of stream here, but then at the same time could hang with the beboppers, you know, like he did at Massey Hall and in clubs and everything. So Mingus is the uniter, believe it or not, in jazz between these two different streams of jazz piano. So check it out, have fun. It's not an incredibly hard tune. It's just got a few chords, and it's maybe not quite a blues, but kind of has that feeling and a little bit of that form. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 14 measures long, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14 measures long. So again, that's Mingus, not the usual 8 or 12 or 16, right? 14 measures, asymmetrical in a way, but absolutely sounds right. So have fun with this. Let me know if you need help with your playing. I do Zoom lessons, Skype lessons, help you get to that next level, or you can check out my video course at keyboardimprov.com. Thanks for being here. Good luck with your playing, and enjoy every step of the journey.